a race against time for negotiations. With only a few hours left before the end of the summit, those who are monitoring the negotiations are still hopeful.
I think African countries should put pressure in these last 48 hours to make sure that the investment flow will go there. I do think now some African countries, I'm thinking in particular on South Africa or Senegal, who has begun bilateral discussion, but that should be broadened and have more access to this, in a way, package of private and public funding to finance the transition to clean energy. And in Africa, it's not on clean energy alone, it's just as well a big amount of increased amount of energy, and in particular the clean one.
Right now we have an opportunity to do better than that. So if on Friday, Saturday, maybe even Sunday, we don't know when this thing will end, we will have to see. We cannot come out of here without, I think the momentum is such that we will have to get an outcome on loss and damage that is not an agenda item only, but that is finance facility based.
The developed countries would want us to transit into green energy without taking into cognizance the material conditions affecting our respective countries. And I think there's been a greater voice that emphasizes the need for developed countries to support developing countries, not just through loans that we see being announced, but through support that is dedicated, because partly the global warming can be attributed to the countries that are developed.
The president of COP27 was frank.
While some of the discussions were constructive and positive, others did not reflect the expected recognition of the need to move collectively to address the gravity and urgency of the climate crisis. The mitigation work program is yet to reach the desired outcome. Adaptation is still held back by procedural matters. Ambitious outcomes on finance have not yet materialized. And on loss and damage, parties are shying away from taking the difficult political decisions. The Secretary General and I discussed at length the current status of matters relating to funding arrangements, responding to loss and damage associated with the adverse effects of climate change. I believe that extra efforts need to be exerted by all parties to ensure an agreement on this matter, one that would provide a basis that would allow us to effectively respond to the urgent and legitimate demand for an adequate funding setup for loss and damage at the earliest.
The UN boss is back in Egypt after addressing the G20 meeting in Bali, Indonesia earlier this week, and is making a final push for better outcomes.
We must have agreed solutions in front of us to respond to loss and damage, to close the emissions gap, and to deliver on finance. The climate clock is ticking and trust keeps eroding. The parties at COP27 have a chance to make a difference here and now, and I urge them to act and act quickly.
It is a race against time for negotiators, but many believe that a better text can still be achieved before the end of the summit. Sophie Mokoena, SABC News, Sharm El Sheikh, Egypt.